Shabbat Shalom. If you're a first-time visitor, please raise your hand so that we might acknowledge you. If you have not yet received a visitor's packet, please keep your hand raised so that we can get one to you. The packet contains brochures which will tell you about our congregation and our services. You should also find a visitor's card, and we would ask that you kindly fill it out, place it in the offering box next to the American flag after the service. Once again, we're blessed to have you with us this evening. Tonight and next week, we will be taking up a special offering for Purim. This offering will go to those in Israel being impacted by the wars with Hamas and Hezbollah. You can write Purim in the memo section of a check, or write Purim on the outside of the envelope at Giving Cash. On Tuesday, we'll continue our interactive study on a Messianic Jewish understanding of the book of Romans. We will be discussing the second half of chapter 6. All are welcome. On Friday, April 18th, we will be holding our congregational Passover Seder at the Embassy Suites Hotel on Verde Boulevard in Greenville. The cost is $70 per person, with a $10 early sign-up discount for payments made before April 4th. You can get a flyer on the material table and turn in the money to May Galloway, Ribbitson Sarah, or pay online at adonolam.org. And now we pray the Lord's blessings upon you and hope that you will feel His sweet spirit as you worship with us this evening. Once again, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And Chag Sameach.
We'll have you saying that like a natural before the night is out. And now I'm going to call out, or call forward those who will be handing out our groggers. Groggers are the name for the noisemakers that we are handing out to assist you in making noise whenever we hear the name of the villain in the story. Now we ask you to only boo the name of the victim, the villain in the story for a second or two so that you're able to hear the rest of the story. We don't want anybody to miss out. While we're handing those out, I thought I'd take my hand and tell them. No, I'm not going to do that. I was going to tell a quick joke, but y'all are handing out faster than I can tell the joke. So y'all have been spared. Everybody get a noisemaker that wants one? All right. We've got some requests over here. Here we go, coming down that aisle over here. Okay. What do we call the noisemaker? The grogger. And whenever we hear the name of Haman, we will briefly boo and make lots of noise to drown him out. I'll explain a little bit later in a teaching. I did have time to tell my joke. Okay, one more. Here we go. Going once, going twice. Okay. All right, there we go. In searching the archives, we found footage of various newscasts from the Persian Empire during the time of Queen Esther. And we think that they will shed some light on the story for you. So we thought we would share them with you this evening. Please, sit back. When the time comes, make lots of noise for a very short period of time and enjoy.
Good evening and welcome to the AOMC Evening News, coming to you live from the Kingdom of Akashvarosh, stretching from India to Ethiopia. I'm Cole Kutz.
And I'm Candy Barr. In our top story this evening, the Queen has been dethroned. King Ahasuerus has stripped Queen Vashti of her crown and royal title. Our reporter, Paige Turner, is on the scene at the palace in Shushan with details. Paige?
I'm standing outside the palace, where sources have told me that Queen Vashti was dethroned after she refused to appear before the king when she was summoned. It is not yet clear whether the summons was a proper one or whether the queen's response was an appropriate one. The series of events that led to this decision started a little over 6 months ago, when the king decided to give an elaborate 180-day banquet for all of the princes and nobles of Persia and Media. This was followed by a 7-day banquet of drinking and revelry for everyone in Shushan. Queen Vashti hosted a week-long banquet for the women at the same time. Anonymous sources tell AOMC News that the king appeared to be a bit inebriated when he summoned Queen Vashti to come and show off her beauty. She responded with a flat-out refusal and some talk of an equal rights amendment which got her banished from the king's presence. I'll keep you posted as this story unfolds. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Paige. The king's advisors have announced a search throughout the kingdom for all the beautiful virgins to compete in a contest to replace Vashti as queen of Media and Persia.
So if you're a beautiful young woman and you want to become queen, or even if you don't, expect the Shushan Secret Service at your door soon. That's the story we have so far. We'll be back with you with all the news tomorrow night. And now, a word from one of our sponsors.
Howdy, folks. I'm Colonel Haboob Sandstorm, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about my Persian fried pigeon. We cook Persian fried pigeon my way. We always use the highest quality, plump young pigeons, always fresh, never frozen. It's cut into pieces and dipped into flour, seasoned with my 11 secret herbs and spices. Get a bucket of 10 pigeon pieces, plus eggplant, lentils, and naan bread, all for only 2 silver coins. Nobody makes pigeon like we do. I am sure that you're going to think it is finger-licking good.
Welcome to the AOMC Evening News, where our motto is, when the news breaks, we fix it. I'm Cole Kutz.
And I'm Candy Barr. Of course, the big news tonight is the coronation of a new queen. She has a beautiful face and figure, plus she beat out hundreds of others in a complex year-long competition to become the new queen of Media, Persia. Her name is Esther.
Our sports and leisure reporter, Gymnasium, has the details on that, as well as the latest in sports. Jim?
Thanks, Cole. In the Shushanopolis 500, Taraj Andretti drove the Persian fried pigeon Palace Depot Dromedary to an impressive victory over the favorite, Darab Earnhardt, on the Kingdom Express Best Barter Camel and a field of 27 others. And don't forget that the festivities will soon be underway leading up to the next week's rivalry showdown between the University of Persia Gamecocks and the Shushan University Tigers. But today, everyone's attention is on the coronation of the new queen, and the competition to be chosen has been fierce. The process started a year ago when all of the attractive eligible young women in the kingdom were brought to the palace house of the women. They were then put through a year of beauty treatments, culminating with an interview with the king. Everyone seems pleased with his choice because Queen Esther is not only beautiful, but we are told that she is liked by everyone who meets her. And now, we'll head inside as Esther's banquet is about to begin. This is Gymnasium, AOMC Sports.
In an unrelated story, a Jewish man named Mordecai has been seen walking back and forth at the gate of the palace every day for a year. There is plenty of speculation as to what his interests might be, but no one seems to know for sure.
In breaking news, 2 of the king's guards, Big Ten and Teresh, have been arrested and sentenced to hanging after it was discovered that they planned to assassinate the king. The Persian Bureau of Investigation credits this same Mordecai with tipping them off to the plot. Well, that's our news for tonight, and now a public service announcement.
One of the most common, tempting, and deadly distractions for teen drivers is scrolls. Reading or writing a scroll while driving a camel, horse, or other animal makes you 20 times more likely to have an accident. 57% of teen boys and 78% of teen girls admit to scrolling while driving. You, as a parent, should talk to your teen about not scrolling and driving. You should also set a good example by putting away your scrolls while in control of an animal. Scrolling and driving is a deadly combination. Get your family and friends to agree to put away their scrolls while driving. Take the pledge, save lives.
Good evening and welcome to the AOMC Evening News. I'm Candy Barr.
And I'm Cole Cuts. In the news tonight, Haman, the son of the Hammedatha the Agagite, has been promoted by the king to the rank of prime minister. Haman says that he plans to enrich uranium for peaceful purposes only. He says he has no plans whatsoever to build weapons and nuke Israel. The king has commanded that everyone bow to Haman. One of the Jewish men, Mordecai, has refused to bow to him, which makes him furious. Servants of the king tell us, off record of course, that Haman has decided to simply get rid of Mordecai. Our investigative reporter, Robin Banks, has more on this. Robin?
Thanks, Cole. AOMC News has learned that when Haman discovered that Mordecai was Jewish, he determined to extend his extermination plan to include all the Jews. He cast the lot, or pour, to decide what day to carry out his plan. He even offered the king 10,000 talents of silver for the right to destroy the Jewish people. Sources close to the king say that he refused the money, but gave Haman his signet ring and free rein to make the laws as he pleased. The first executive order written by Haman was a command to annihilate the Jews and seize all their possessions. As you can imagine, this has caused chaos and confusion throughout the city. Robin Banks, AOMC News. Now back to you.
Thanks, Robin. In light of this and the recent assassination plot against the king, there's a growing faction among the king's advisors who are calling for new sword control laws. This has been countered by the leader of the National Sword Association, who says that his group will fight for the right of the people to bear swords.
Like most of the Jewish people, Mordecai, the man who has been seen daily at the king's gate, has torn his clothes and has been sitting in sackcloth and ashes, fasting and wailing bitterly. Feeling that sackcloth was not appropriate attire to sit at the king's gate, Queen Esther responded to this by sending her servant Hatak to Mordecai with a coupon for Joseph A. Banks. so that he could buy one robe and get another robe, 2 cloaks, 2 headdresses, and a belt for free. Mordecai refused her offer and sent her a copy of the executive order regarding the destruction of the Jews. For more on this story, we'll go to our palace correspondent, just in time, Justin.
An unidentified source at the palace told AOMC News that a series of messages has been passed between Queen Esther and the Jew Mordecai through her servant, Touch. In one message, Mordecai appeared to get Esther to go to the king and beg him to save the Jewish people. Esther informed Mordecai that such an act would be by law mean certain death if the king did not want to see her. This was followed by an ominous message from Mordecai suggesting that Queen Esther, who was also in danger in living in the palace surrounded by the Secret Service, and that this was perhaps the reason that she was chosen to be the queen for such a time as this. He also expressed his conviction that if she refused, she would not survive, but the Jews would be saved by some other means. My source tells me that this was followed by Queen Esther telling Mordecai to gather all the Jews in Shushan and fast from food and drink for 3 days, and that she and her maidens would do the same. Afterwards, she said she would go to the king. She entered a communication with him with a curious statement, quote, "And if I perish, I perish," end quote. It seems that there's much uncertainty in Shushan these days. Back to you, Cole and Candy.
Thanks, Justin. Well, that wraps up the news this evening. This afternoon, I had a chance to sit down and talk with Zeresh, the wife of the new Prime Minister. Be sure to join me tonight at 8 for my exclusive interview. Here are some excerpts from that conversation. Zeresh, your life must be quite chaotic since you found out that your husband has been given such a big promotion. How did you react when you suddenly found yourself in the role of the wife of Prime Minister? The king has ordered that everyone bow to your husband. Yet, there are those who refuse to obey this order. Does all of this controversy walking down the street with Haman make things a bit awkward? Your husband has been described as an anti-Semite. He has allegedly offered the king 10,000 talents of silver to be allowed to annihilate all the Jews in the kingdom. Do you share in his anti-Semitic views?
Good evening and welcome to the AOMC Evening News. I'm Cole Cutts.
And I'm Candy Barr. In our top story, Queen Esther risked her life today after 3 days of fasting by going in to see the king without being summoned. Thankfully, the king was glad to see her and extended his golden scepter so that she could approach him without being killed. We are told he offered her half the kingdom, but she settled for having the king and Haman join her for a banquet, where she simply asked them to join her for a second banquet tomorrow.
Haman left the banquet feeling pretty special about his wealth, status, and position until he encountered Mordecai, whose continued refusal to bow to Haman caused his happiness to turn into fury. Haman went home, and on the advice of Zeresh's wife and a number of his friends, decided to have a 75-foot gallows built and asked for the king for his permission to hang Mordecai on it. This would allow him to enjoy the banquet with the king and the queen and restore his happiness.
We'll be back tomorrow with all the news. And now, a word from one of our sponsors.
Are you looking for a licensed, bonded, and insured contractor who can remodel an old gallows or build you a new one? Do you want a reputable company who takes pride in doing a job right? Someone you can count on to be on time and get the job done? Well, look no further than Ernest and Julio gallows makers. We can build from your plans, or you can choose one of our popular designs. We build gallows or any other type of structure, simple or elaborate, residential or commercial. No job is too large or too small. Our gallows are sturdy and our nooses are strong. Remember, Ernest and Julio gallows builders. We'll leave you hanging.
Good evening and welcome to the AOMC Evening News. I'm Candy Barr.
And I'm Cole Cutts. In the news, a special parade and other special honors in Shushan today. Our weather report, April showers, is on vacation, so Mayflowers is here with the weather and some details on this story. May?
Well, the weather throughout the kingdom is the same as always. Partly cloudy and sunny, cold in the mountains, hot in the desert, with occasional sandstorms and always a bad day for my hair. But it was a beautiful day for a parade in Shushan today, and that's just what we had. Prime Minister Haman was leading Mordecai through the streets of Shushan on one of the king's horses, shouting, "This is what we do for the man the king delights to honor." Mordecai was wearing one of the king's robes and had a royal crown on his head. The king's press secretary announced this morning that the king was ill last night, and there was no further information as to the nature of his illness, just that he had a sleepless night. During the night, the king called for a servant to read him the Chronicles, the record of his reign, to him as a form of sleep therapy. On hearing the account of how Mordecai had saved his life while reporting the assassination plot, the king was surprised to discover that Mordecai had never been rewarded. Another source in the palace told us off the record that Haman came in to ask the king's permission to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had built. The king took that opportunity to ask Haman's opinion on how to honor someone. It is rumored that Haman, though he was the one to be honored, so he suggested a grand parade, but he ended up putting on a parade with Mordecai as the honoree. After the parade, we are told that Haman was escorted to the second banquet with Queen Esther and the king. Now back to you in the studio.
Well, it's been quite a day for honorees in Shushan.
Indeed it has. And that's the news for this evening. We'll leave you with a word from one of our sponsors.
Imagine being run over by a reckless donkey. Imagine being injured by a runaway horse or camel. Imagine being laid up for a while and not able to work. I was in just such an accident. I had a huge bill for herbs, plaster, and doctors, and the other drivers refused to pay. It wasn't my fault. I didn't cause the accident. I called Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, and they got me the coinage I deserved, and they'll see to it that the other drivers pay for your fair amount so you can relax and get well. Imagine that. It just was that easy at Dewey's, Cheatham, and Howe. They're looking out for you. Call 1-800-MY-MONEY today for a free case review. It won't cost you a thing.
Good evening and welcome to the AOMC Evening News. I'm Cole Cutts.
And I'm Candy Barr. In a shocking turn of events that rocked the government today, Prime Minister Haman was hanged. Queen Esther revealed that she was Jewish, and Mordecai was named as the new Prime Minister.
However, the shock quickly turned to rejoicing. Now, standing at the palace with more on the story is our reporter at large, Jay Walker. Jay.
Thanks, Cole. As you know, the Prime Minister joined the King and Queen for a second banquet, where it is rumored that the King offered Queen Esther up to half the kingdom. My sources tell me that she asked that she and her people, the Jewish people, be spared from death. When the King asked who was trying to kill her, she pointed to Haman.
Boo.
And exposed his evil plot. At that point, we are told that the king stormed out of the room, and when he returned, Haman
Boo.
was falling into the queen, begging for his life. The king was furious at what he saw as an attempted assault on his wife. Harbona, one of the king's servants, pointed out that Haman
Boo.
had a 75-foot gallows built so that he could hang Mordecai, who had saved the king's life. The king then ordered that Haman
Boo.
be hung on his own gallows. The king's press secretary announced this morning that Mordecai, who happened to be Queen Esther's cousin and foster father, has been named as the new prime minister and given the signet ring, which was taken from Haman.
Boo.
He also confirmed that Queen Esther is Jewish and that her real name is Hadassah. The king gave Haman
Boo.
estate to Queen Esther, and she turned it over to Mordecai. That's the story from here. Back to you.
As his first act of prime minister, Mordecai issued an executive order in every language and in every province that the Jewish people would be able to arm and defend themselves against their enemies on the 13th of Adar. When the order was published, the Jewish people had a feast and a holiday to celebrate.
Well, today has been an exciting day for news. We'll keep you updated as events continue to unfold. And now, a word from one of our sponsors.
Have I got a deal for you? Why shop all over the country? It's time to save at Hamid Swindle's Camelot. Right now, zero down deliveries on all new mammals, and all pre-owned animals are priced to move. If you're in the market for a dromedary, camel, or donkey, there's never been a better time to save. We have huge inventory with tremendous savings. If you're looking for a Hemi, a tow package, or a luxury model, you've come to the right place. We'll even buy your old mammal, no matter what its condition. We have slashed prices for unbelievable deals. So come on down to Hamid Swindle's Camelot. We will not be undersold.
Good evening, and welcome to the AOMC Evening News. I'm Candy Barr.
And I'm Cole Cutts. Our top story tonight, 500 dead in the capital of Shushan and 75,000 dead in the rest of the kingdom.
Also, the 10 sons of Haman were hanged. Our judicial reporter Lily Pond has more on the story. Lily?
The statute passed by former Prime Minister Haman provided for the annihilation of the Jews today. As you know, the laws of the Medes and the Persians cannot be changed. However, the edict written by Prime Minister Mordecai allowed for the Jews to defend themselves. The 10 sons of Haman were hanged at the request of Queen Esther. Also, the queen's request, the Jews in Shushan were given an extension of Mordecai's edict for tomorrow. Mordecai's approval rating is high and getting higher every day. He has now declared that the 14th day of Adar should be a day of feasting and gladness, and sending gifts to the poor each year as a reminder to subsequent generations that they overcome their enemies on this day. The command of Queen Esther established this holiday of Purim. That's it for here. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Lily. And that's our news for this evening. From AOMC Evening News, I'm Cole Cutts.
And I'm Candy Barr. Good night and have a pleasant tomorrow.
Now I'm able to see the book. Appreciate everybody who had a part in that effort. Now I'm going to we're going to collect Braggers. Let's see how long this takes. We're afraid that you'll use them in my next message. All right, can we get them all? Pass them all to the center. Thank you. Anybody bring a pie this evening? Okay. Did you know today is Pie Day? March 14th, Pie Day. If you don't understand that, find somebody who is an expert in math and they'll explain it. Today also started out with a full lunar eclipse, often referred to as a blood moon. Anybody see it last night? Okay. It was full at about 3 in the morning, so you're... Anyway, on with... What was that? 2:27 to be exact. Okay, who's counting? On with the teaching. In the 1980 Olympics, the U.S. hockey team was composed of amateur hockey players, mostly college kids, and they were able to defeat the Soviet hockey team, which was composed of professionals who were said to be Soviet soldiers, enabling them to be paid without being considered professionals. This victory is often referred to as the miracle on ice. There have also been significant upsets in the NCAA basketball tournaments. 2 times a number 16 seed has defeated a number 1 seed. These are considered major unexpected victories, even called bracket busters. But we also have an even greater bracket buster. These upsets pale in comparison to what our Jewish people experienced in the book of Esther, in the events associated with Purim. Even though this surprising victory is recounted in the Bible, it is something that many non-Jewish people are unaware of. Now, there's something else that many do not know about the book of Esther, and that is that the Lord's name is not mentioned in the book. But as we learn more about these events, there can be little doubt that the Lord was very much a part of this improbable, miraculous victory. Now, many believers do not think that these events from long ago could be something that we really can relate to in modern times. After all, how can we expect people today to be able to relate to the idea of an Iranian fanatic who seeks to wipe out the Jewish people, right? There are actually more modern connections as well. The first Gulf War ended on Purim in 1991, and on Purim in 2003, President Bush issued an ultimatum to Saddam Hussein that, with his refusal, led to the second Gulf War. And towards the end of this teaching, I will mention another relatively recent historical connection to the events of Purim. But first we have to tell you where this holiday gets its name. It's from the Hebrew word for lot, or poor. I think we have a slide to reflect this. Perhaps, there we go. Because the villain used lots, Purim, in the plural, to determine that the Jewish people were to be wiped out on the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar, which I think is on the next slide. Let's see if it's... Anyway, but God had other plans. As we heard earlier, you can follow along on my tablet, Jeremy, since I left it back there. Why not? as we heard earlier, a young Jewish girl is the heroine of our story. In Esther 2, verse 7, she is called by her Hebrew name, which if you were paying attention during that representation of the events, her Hebrew name is Hadassah. But she is called by her Persian name, Esther, throughout the rest of the book. Now, why do we observe Purim today? As we heard earlier, it was a quote of Esther 9, verse 28, which says, "These days should be remembered and observed in every generation, by every family, and in every province, and every city. These days of Purim should not fail from among the Jewish people, nor their remembrance perish from their descendants." It's also traditional at Purim. Does anybody know the Hebrew word for scroll? It's Megillah.
Megillah.
Here's a picture of a Megillah. For the younger people, there used to be a cartoon called Megillah Gorilla. I'll sing you the theme song afterwards if you like. No, this is what a Megillah of Esther might look like. We read the Megillah of Esther at Purim. And according to Esther 9, verse 22, the Jewish people are instructed to send portions to one another and gifts to the poor at this time. Today, most of the gift giving has been moved to Hanukkah to compete with Christmas. Here's a picture of what some Jewish people might call a Hanukkah bush. At one time, it would have been more accurate to call it a Purim bush, exactly. Many Jewish people still send gifts to the poor at Purim, and we're going to be sending an offering to those in Israel who have been impacted by the war. And if you feel led to participate in this offering, you can write Purim in the memo of a check or on the outside of an envelope if you want to give cash. It's also traditional at Purim to tell the events of the book of Esther, often in a humorous way through a Purim play, which is called a Purim spiel. Also, humorous skits are often performed, similar to what we are going to do afterwards in what we refer to as our No Talent show. That is unique to our congregation. So if you happen to go to another Messianic synagogue or a traditional synagogue, they will have skits. They may even call it a talent show, but they're probably not going to call it a no talent show. Jewish humor is often based on our ability to laugh in the face of tragedy, because we know that our God has and is able to provide the victory, no matter how bleak things may look, no matter how cruel the persecution that we were facing. Today, this holiday has become a time, particularly in Israel, of dressing up in costumes and wearing masks. Another Purim tradition is to have a carnival to raise money for charity. Now, I want to talk about an interesting possible connection between Purim and what the Jewish people were told in Deuteronomy 25, verses 17 through 19. In those verses, the Jewish people were told that they were to blot out all memory of Amalek from under heaven. Why? Because Amalek lay in wait for the people and attacked them at the rear. And that was where those who were exhausted and straggling behind, including the little ones, likely would have been. He's described as not fearing God. And you may be wondering, how is this connected to Purim? The rabbis tell us that the villain of Purim is thought to be a descendant of Amalek, because in Esther 3:1, his father is described as an Agagite. Agag, if you'll remember, was a king of the Amalekites who was eventually killed by King Saul. So we can blot out his name literally by booing and making noise every time the name of Haman is mentioned during the telling of the story. The noisemakers that we use, as we told you earlier, are called groggers, which comes from a Yiddish word that means rattle. Also, light-hearted songs are sung that help us remember the story, and we will be doing that later this evening. As with most Jewish holidays, there's a food that is associated with this day. It's called chumentashen. Say that together. Chumentashen. It is a three-cornered cookie with a fruit filling in the middle. And I know we have some here tonight because I was smelling it cooking all afternoon. Chumentashen is a Yiddish word that literally means Haman's pockets. The pastry is shaped like the three-cornered hat that Haman traditionally wears. Interestingly, throughout the book of Esther, we also find a number of instances of duplication. For example, there are 2 reports of Esther's hidden identity. In Esther 2:10 and again in Esther 2:20, we are told that Esther has kept her identity as a Jewish girl hidden. We are told even in Esther's most famous line, we see repetition as she says in the Hebrew, V'cha asher avadti avadti. If I perish, I perish. We also find in Esther 9, verses 12 and 13, that she repeats her request to have Haman's 10 sons hanged. Here is a slide that shows the listing of the names of Haman's 10 sons in the scroll of Esther from Esther chapter 9, verses 7 through 9. And when we look at the Hebrew, we find that 3 letters are written smaller. That's kind of hard to see. Take my word for it. And 1 letter is written bigger. Can you film that one? Well, I think I have a blow-up of that. There we go. A little easier to see. When we look at the way that this is written, one of the interpretations, according to the rabbis, is that these letters could represent the year 5707, which would have started in September 1946. Now, you might be interested to know that October 1st, 1946 was the 21st of Tishrei, 5707 on the Hebrew calendar. And the 21st of Tishrei is the 7th day of Sukkot, called Hoshana Rabbah. And by tradition, it is when the fates of the Jewish people are sealed should they die in the coming year. And on this day in 1946, 11 Nazi war criminals were scheduled to be hung following the Nuremberg war trials. But several hours before his hanging, Hermann Goering committed suicide in his cell. Therefore, 10 men were hanged on that day, as recorded in the October 1946 edition of Newsweek magazine. It says in the article, in that magazine, only Julius Streicher went without dignity. He had to be pushed across the floor, wild-eyed and screaming, Heil Hitler. Mounting the steps, he cried out, "And now I go to God." He stared at the witnesses facing the gallows and shouted, "Purim Fest, 1946. A while back, I came across a website that suggests a connection between the Nazi executions and Esther's request. Using a concept called equidistant letter sequencing, or ELS, of which I was initially skeptical, we find some interesting things in the book of Esther. On the screen, we should have the Hebrew of Esther 8:3 through 9:27 in the Hebrew, arranged with 216 letters per line. Now, 216, for the person that you asked about Pi Day, he would explain to you that that is 6 cubed. And on that display on the screen, we see some different colors. White on red, going down vertically, gives us the date of the 21st of Tishrei, the Hebrew date of the Nazi executions. 5707 is found in dark blue on light blue. White on black is the word Nazi, and yellow on green is the word hanged. Now, because the trials were conducted by a military tribunal, the death sentence should have been by firing squad. Goering, in fact, requested it. but it was decided not to treat them as soldiers, and therefore execute them by hanging instead. Also on this, we can see the Hebrew for the number 10, the Hebrew for sons of, the Hebrew for Haman, the Hebrew for Aryan, and the Hebrew for Amalekite. Remember, in 1946, the Jewish people had just come out of the Holocaust. And the question many of them were asking was, where was God? So these events could have been a sign to the Jewish people that the hand of God can still be seen working even after the horrors of the Holocaust. And less than 2 years later, on May 14, 1948, the nation of Israel is reborn, fulfilling numerous prophecies that the Lord would once again reestablish the Jewish people again in the land that he had promised to them. But you can be sure the enemy, Hasatan, Satan, is not happy about this. Israel has been under constant threat from her enemies since that day. We are praying and believing for a Purim miracle for our people, even in these days as we celebrate. So now I want to leave you with the traditional Purim greeting. It's Chag Purim Sameach. Let's say that together, but make sure that when you say Chag, you get the throat involved, because Chag is not kosher. So it's Chag Purim Sameach. Kind of like a cat with a fur ball, in case you need some help. Now we are going to have the traditional blessings to close out the Sabbath service, and then our Not Ready for Primetime singers will come up, and we will sing a couple of traditional Purim songs. Now we're going to ask everyone to please stand as we are going to pronounce the Lord's words of blessing found in Numbers chapter 6, as he instructed Aaron, as the first campaign gadol, as the first high priest, to pronounce these words of the Lord as the Lord's words of blessing. Stand and receive these words of blessing from the Lord this evening.
Yevarechach Adonai, v'yishmerecha, Yaher Adonai panav elecha, v'chunecha, Yasar Adonai panav elecha, v'yasem lecha shalom. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you, and may he grant unto you his peace.
Amen. Amen. I was waiting for the English, then I realized you sang English. I was thinking about the next songs that are coming up, as I'm going to ask our singers to come back up to lead us in some traditional Purim songs.
Go.
like that one. Just wait for this one.
Once there was a wicked man, and Haman was his name, sir. Would emperor all the Jews, though they were not to blame, sir. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me, and wash some hamantaschen. And Esther was a lovely queen, a king of Haman said he'd kill us all. Oh my, how he did scare us. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me, and wash some hamantaschen. But Mordecai, your cousin, both said, what a dreadful hussar. If guns were invented now, this Haman I would shoot, sir. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me, and wash some hamantaschen. When Esther's speaking to the king of Haman's flock, they mention, ha ha, he said, oh, will he want? I'll spoil his bad intention. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me, and wash some hamantaschen. The guest of honor he shall be, this clever Mr. Smarty. My brothers he shall swing a little hanging party. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me, and wash some hamantaschen. Of all his cruel and unkind ways, this little gem did cure me. And don't forget we owe him thanks for the jolly feast of Purim. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me. Oh, today we'll marry, marry me, and wash some hamantaschen.
All right, and if you thought that was fun, just wait. You may be seated for a moment. Lack of talent in one way or of another, and hopefully you'll have an opportunity to laugh with us, and maybe even sometimes be laughing at us. We are going to do a little skit that is called If Biblical Characters Had Cell Phones.
Hey, are you Facebook friends with Enoch?
Yeah, but he hasn't posted anything for a while. I wonder what happened to him.
I don't know, it's like he just vanished into thin air.
Noah is constantly posting on Instagram about his latest DIY project. He says he got instructions from God to build a boat.
Wait, what's a boat?
Oh look, Abraham and Isaac posted a selfie of their father-son trip to the mountains.
Hey, wait, what's that rope for?
Esau posted a picture of a bowl of red stuff on Pinterest. It must have been, oh, go ahead. Must have been delicious.
Delicious.
Yes, I'm sure it was.
I heard it cost him his birthright.
Okay. Laban keeps posting and reposting all sorts of fake news and disinformation.
That Laban is one serious gaslighter.
It is. Hey, do you follow Jacob?
Yeah, why?
I just saw that he changed his username to Israel.
Have you been on Facebook Marketplace lately?
No, why?
Joseph's brothers are trying to sell it.
I didn't know you could do that. Do you have locations turned on for the children of Israel? They've been wandering around in the wilderness for years. Talk about directionally challenged.
Do none of them have ways?
Have you checked your weather app today?
Why? What's the forecast?
As usual, 100% chance of manna and quail.
Look, Moses posted 10 Commandments on Facebook.
Oh yeah, he's already has over 1 million likes.
Joshua posted that the walls of Jericho fell down when they sounded a blast on a sofa.
I think that's probably an autocorrect of shofar, don't you think?
I see David just put another psalm on Spotify.
He must have 100 or more on there already.
Solomon keeps posting these YouTube videos of his new building.
Yeah, showing off all that gold, silver, and bronze is pretty impressive.
Hot Talk is on X, which used to be Twitter, complaining about running back and forth between Esther and Mordecai with messages.
I wonder why they don't just text each other.
Haman keeps sending me friend requests.
I would just ignore them. He's always hanging around.
Oh, Job is just going on and on about how he lost everything.
He'll probably start a GoFundMe account pretty soon. I was texting Shadrach. I didn't realize it was a group chat with Meshach and Abednego.
Uh-oh. So what happened?
I sent him a fire emoji and they all got offended.
I saw Daniel's search history the other day.
And?
He was researching how to train lions. Leave it, lie down, stuff like that.
Jonah said he was going on a cruise 3 days ago. Have you heard from him?
No, but maybe he doesn't have cell service where he is.
I was talking to Joseph last week. He and Yeshua's mother, Miriam, were on Priceline trying to find a hotel in Bethlehem.
So did they find one?
Nah, they ended up having to Airbnb a room in a rustic barn-type place.
Hope it works out for him.
Look, John the Immerser posted pictures of his lunch.
Let me guess. He had DoorDash bring him locusts and wild honey again?
I think so. I see Yeshua has a blue check on X.
How did he get a blue check?
Got me. Looks like he only has 12 followers.
Have you seen all the wild stories posted on Snapchat? # prodigal son.
Yep, just left his father's house and moved to a foreign country.
He's off the chain. He's gone seriously cray-cray.
I heard Zacchaeus was on SeatGeek trying to get tickets to see Yeshua, but they're all sold out.
Yeah, he said something about climbing a tree. What's that about?
Don't know. Are you Facebook friends with Lazarus?
Yeah, but he ghosted me for like 4 days. And then he started posting again like nothing had happened.
Go figure. Did you see that Yeshua came to town on a donkey?
I saw that. Could he not get an Uber?
Guess not. The Sanhedrin just Venmoed Judas 30 pieces of silver.
I wonder what that's for.
I don't know. Have you heard from Shaul recently?
No. Maybe he's in Facebook jail again.
Have you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Seen the TikTok videos Lydia posted promoting her purple fabric business?
Oh yeah, I really like her shades of deep purple.
John is posting all this weird stuff about a beast and a dragon.
Beasts and dragons. Maybe it's a new video game.
I don't know. We may never figure it all out. Oh, excuse me. I need to take this call from Prune Juice.
Later, hashtag out of here. Since you've stayed this long, we'll try some more. Most of you already know the next month on the Hebrew calendar is the first month of the year, Nisan, which used to be called. Continuing with the car theme, even though the Bible was written long before the automobile was invented, you just bought the idea that we could have cell phones back there. Why not cars? And actually, there are questions as to whether cars were used in the Bible or not. For example, Genesis 3:23 tells us the Lord drove Adam out of the garden. What did the Lord drive? Apparently a Plymouth, because he drove him out in his fury. David may have driven a British car, because after his victory over Goliath, David's triumph became known throughout the land. And we all know what the disciples got around in. In Acts 1:14, we're told that the disciples were all in one accord. Actually, it may have belonged to Yeshua, but we don't know because he wouldn't talk about it. According to John 12:49, Yeshua said, "For I did not speak of my own accord." Speaking of David, his writings in Psalm 83 suggest that the Lord may have driven two cars, a Pontiac and a Geo. In Psalm 83, David urges the Lord, "Pursue your enemies with your tempest, and terrify them with your storm." The Lord may have used a Dodge truck as a signal to the Israelites. He told them in Exodus 19, verse 13, "Only when the ram's horn sounds a long blast may they go up to the mountain." At one of our first talent shows, I tried my hand at comedy. And from that point on, we changed the name of the show from a talent show to a no-talent show. For example, I asked whether the correct pronunciation for the capital of Kentucky, and May was there, she can verify this, was Louisville or Louisville. But as we all know, the capital of Kentucky is Frankfurt. The funniest part was there was a lady from Louisville who was trying to correct me on how to pronounce it, rather than missing out that we were talking about the capital. A little bit of Bible trivia. Each book of the Bible is broken up into chapters. Anybody know which book of the Bible has the most chapters? Psalm 150. Anybody know the longest psalm?
119.
119. How many verses?
26.
176. 22 times 8. Where's the 22 come from? Number of letters in the Hebrew alphabet. Every 8 verses in the Psalm starts with the same Hebrew letter advancing through the alphabet. Some Bibles depict this by showing the Hebrew letter at the beginning of each set of 8 verses. Do we have that on a PowerPoint in some way? Maybe not.
I think we might.
Okay, we'll see if we have the next thing.
This one?
A number of Psalms are, okay, there we go. That shows the, yes, excellent. Okay, the yellow letters show that the first 8 begin with Aleph, the second 8 with Bet, and you're on a roll all the way through the alphabet. A number of Psalms are in this format, with either individual verses or even phrases. Here's a slide that shows the first words of Psalm 34. You see the Hebrew alphabet is used as the first letter of each verse in Psalm 34. All right, so now that you've learned something, let's go to something that may be a little more humorous in terms of Bible trivia. Who was the shortest man in the Bible?
Nehemiah.
Some say it was Job's friend Bildad, the Shuhite. Others say Peter, because Yeshua asked him why he was sleeping on his watch. I didn't say they weren't corny. Let's try another one. What did Adam and Eve do after they were kicked out of the garden? They raised Cain. This one some of you may have heard before. Where is baseball mentioned in the Bible? In Genesis, we read in the big inning, Eve stole first, Adam stole second, and in the New Covenant scriptures, the prodigal son came home. Where is tennis mentioned in the Bible? In Genesis 41, verse 16, Joseph was 30 years old when he began serving Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Who was the most flagrant sinner in the Bible? Moses, because he broke all 10 commandments at the same time. What man in the Bible spoke like an adult when he was a baby? Job 3 verse 1 says Job opened his mouth and cursed the day of his birth. What insect did Yeshua's father Joseph take to Egypt? A flea. The angel of the Lord told him in Matthew 2:13, take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt. Who in the Bible had no parents? Joshua, son of Nun. Why was Noah's fishing trip so short? He only had 2 worms. What city in the Bible was full of ambidextrous people? Nineveh. According to Jonah 4 verse 11, there were 120,000 people in Nineveh who could not tell their right hand from their left. How many people left the ark before Noah? 3, because in Genesis 8:16, the Lord said to Noah, go forth from the ark. Who was the best female money manager in the Bible? Pharaoh's daughter. She went down to the bank of the Nile and drew out a profit. Who was the first surfer in the Bible? Paul. He came ashore on a board. But wait, there's more. How do we know that Adam was created in the late afternoon? He was created before Eve. What kind of man was Boaz before he got married?
Happy.
Ruthless. I think mine was better. What enabled Noah's family to see inside the ark at night? Floodlights. May a disease... Yeah, no, never mind. Does anyone remember how many of each clean animal Moses brought on the ark? None. Moses wasn't on the ark. Who here knows exactly where Solomon's temple was located? On the side of his head. Who was the second wisest man in the Bible? Abraham. He knew a lot. Who is the fastest man in the Bible? Adam. He was first in the human race. Why couldn't they play poker on the ark? Noah was standing on the deck. Who was the best comedian in the Bible? Samson. He brought down the house. What medical problem did Samson die of? Fallen arches. When is medicine first mentioned in the Bible? When God told Moses to take 2 tablets and come back in the morning. Who is the best babysitter in the Bible? David. He rocked Goliath to sleep. I would like to close out my efforts tonight with a story. Around the time of Yeshua, there were 2 primary Jewish schools of thought concerning Jewish ritual practices, ethics, and theology. They were referred to as the House of Shammai and the House of Hillel, named for the rabbis that led them. For example, these 2 houses debated whether it was okay to tell an ugly bride that she is beautiful. Shammai said it's always wrong to lie. Hillel said all brides are beautiful. I tell you that to tell you this. Once a student asked Rabbi Hillel if he could explain the book of Esther while standing on 1 foot. Rabbi Hillel responded, they tried to kill us. We won. Let's eat. Good night. Thank you all for coming. Enjoy the fellowship time.